morning, afternoon, night. This is We Are Not Prepared, and we are your hosts, Byron
and Mark Ivy. Welcome back to the We Are Not Prepared show that is hanging on by a thread, tiny thread. Byron is gone. Mark is here. Hadn't been in the seat for a while. Good to be back. If anyone still wants to listen, I hope you do. And Byron last week had on producer extraordinaire, Mr. Santiago, and I got jealous and I thought, I want a shot at Santiago. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. The producer of the show, Santiago Ramones.
Yeah, you actually said it better than Byron did. Working with Byron for, I think, over 2 years now, and he's still like, Ramos? It's like, no, Ramones, that's fine.
Ramones. Well, What do you say?
Santiago Ramones.
But I can't roll my tongue. Don't show off.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how I would say my name. But I don't expect that of other people. I do get put into weird situations sometimes where sometimes I'll introduce myself as Santiago and sometimes I'm like, no, I got to respect myself and say my name is Santiago Ramones. It's not Santiago. I will respond to that, but it's not the correct. If someone pronounced your name as Merrick,
I wouldn't respond.
Yeah. It's that is not how you pronounce. That's not how you pronounce your name. But I mean, different cultures, all that nonsense.
Well, look, we're already learning, and so is this pronunciation right? Carabobo. Is that where you're from?
That is the state that I was born in. Yes.
Is it Venezuela?
It is Venezuela. Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Carabobo.
Oh man, I like Carabobo.
Yeah,
that's where all that's when gladiators get sent as little children to go learn how to fight, or what was that in 300?
The Spartans.
Spartans, yeah. That's where they send all of the clowns that want to go be in the circus one day. Carabobo.
Yeah, no, that is no one else. No one really knows that Venezuela has states, and that's the state that I was born in. But no one really knows the names of the states outside of Venezuela. And so it's something I don't get to relate to other people about, that Carabobo is a objectively funny name.
Yeah. How many states we talking? 10, 20? Let me guess. Let's go 23 states in Venezuela. I
don't actually remember. So your guess is as good as mine. I think it's definitely less than 50. So if you want to go with countries that have the most states, maybe the U.S. is winning.
Yes,
regardless. So.
USA. In your face, all you Venezuelan listeners. We're huge in Venezuela. Well, let's just get into it. Do you have an innie or an outie?
Outie.
Good. Not good. Get out.
Oh, okay. Only innies podcast.
I've never met with it. I've never had a friend with an outie. So we are friends, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know, an outie. I'm blind, so I won't see it.
Right. Yeah.
That's good. And I probably won't be feeling it. That'd be weird.
I would prefer not to. I don't think we're at that level yet.
Okay. You're not ashamed of your outie though, right?
No, I don't. Okay. I don't think so. Maybe there was a point whenever I was a little kid where I was just a little weirded out.
At the pool, some kid goes, ew.
Right. But you grow up and you learn to accept your differences as adults.
There you go. Well, we got that hard hitter out of the way. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What other questions do I have? So how much does Possibilities pay you to produce?
I will happily answer that question. I don't know if anyone else wants me to answer it, though.
So I was looking a little bit. First off, you haven't accepted my friend request, but you did.
I just did. I opened Facebook. I was like, oh, hey, I got a friend request. Yeah. So now we are officially Facebook friends.
No, baby. So you have a podcast called, is it Bit Depth?
Bit Depth.
Oh, bit depth.
Yes.
Okay, so in my head, I thought, oh, does he just get on there and just do bits till you just bit you to death? You know. So what's bit depth?
Bit Depth is a podcast where I talk to interesting people about deep stuff. I ask very heavy philosophical questions, and
So like any outie type stuff.
Oh yeah, all of those sorts of things.
Give me an example. What's do you have like an opening question, or does it switch? You know, is there a?
So I do try and work my way down to the deep questions. So it always does start with like, who are you? What is your thing? But then it goes into what is the role of spirituality or religion in your life? What is your definition of God? What is your definition of free will? How do we determine what good behavior is? Stuff like that.
Man, how do we determine what good behavior is? Because I was going to say God.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone has their own like moral, ethical beliefs. And
Not true.
And I think that it's very interesting to hear different people's perspectives on that. So,
do you ever warn people that they're going to hell if they don't believe in God?
I don't believe in God. So, do you ever warn people that they're going to go to hell?
I'll do this for you. When I get up there, I'll look down and go, "Hello, Santiago."
Yeah. Okay.
Because you'll be down.
Maybe I'll hear you, but then the question then becomes:
can you hear in hell?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have ears in the afterlife?
They'll probably burn off. For you, I'll hear great, and I'll see.
Okay.
I hope. Yeah. If I get what if I get a +1? What if you're down there, I'm up there, and I send a message in a bottle, just drop it, and eventually it'd get there. I'd assume, science, deep space, and it said, "Hey, I got a +1," and you're down there, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you, because I made a big mistake." Would you come up?
So I'm weighing the balance of levity versus seriousness in this conversation right now. And it's like, I could answer your question seriously, but that would not be as fun.
Please.
Okay, well, my serious answer is I don't think I want God's heaven.
So what if you're wrong about it and it does rule and you find out afterward and you're like, oh man, Mark was right that one day on the podcast. I'm going to I hope he does have that +1. So sure. I am being funny, but in a serious note, you have to take that.
Well, so given
you just don't want to admit.
No, well, but given Pascal's wager, I still find that I don't want.
Thanks, I'm full.
I don't want an unjust God's heaven.
Hold on, what is that? What did you say?
I don't want.
No, before that, what's that mean?
Pascal's wager.
Yeah.
It's it's this, I guess, religious argument that you should bet on God because if you're wrong, you get hell. And if you're right, you get heaven. That's the argument. But it reduces the, I guess, nuance of the possibilities, which is that God or no God is a binary question. And the realm of possibility is far larger than binary.
Did you grow up in what is Venezuelan? Is that a heavy Catholic?
Yes, it is. And yes, I did grow up Catholic, and then I eventually became
a priest.
I did consider it. I was a very devoted Catholic. But
not in kids. So
yeah. Or
hey, speaking of Venezuelans, true story. I got bit in the neck by a Venezuelan.
Okay.
Named Santos.
Okay.
Santos, I forget his last name. Did you know any Santoses growing up?
I don't know any Santos.
Okay. Well, maybe he wasn't from Venezuela. Maybe he just wasn't from Carabobo. But no, we were in 7th grade PE class playing volleyball on the same team, and we won, right? Mm-hmm. And now there had been and I'm not being, if anyone thinks I'm being racist, I'm very not. He had he was a bad seed, and he had some friends with him that were not good. And they were running the school. and all like one of them had an ankle monitor on their daggum ankle. Yeah. And so, anyways, we win the game. My buddy pushes me like, yeah, we won. And I get pushed back into Santos. And he didn't like that. And so he pushes me and I was just like, dude, that was not a fun push. You're mad. We won. So then we get into the locker room and I'm bending down, getting my stuff. And I just get pushed and my head goes in the locker room. And I'd never been in a fight before. And I turned around and and it was on. And it turned into like this, some of his buddies jumped in. Anyways, so I get put in-house suspension. He got suspended because he started it. And one of his buddies that jumped in was the scariest looking dude. I swear he was 30, somehow in 7th grade. And he was, after suspended, he got put in-house with me. And he sat across the room and he was an Unreal artist. And he would draw these pictures of me like getting murdered. And he would show them to me. And I would be so scared. I'd be like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. But anyways, that's the time I got bit by and I could speak Spanish for about 2 years after that, which was crazy. Okay. I don't know, once the bite.
Yeah, you can get infected with Spanish, obviously.
Well, I wish I still had it. We'd do this whole podcast in Spanish, but if you want to bite? Back to, I just had to share that because I haven't thought about that.
I will say it's really ironic that, a kid's name like literally means saints. Is very not saintly 7th grader.
Yes.
But I mean, what 7th grader is saintly?
Oh, I mean, there's Mark Ivy and all of his white Christian little buddies, that were. So you grew up Catholic. You even, pondered about making that your life.
Yeah.
What happened?
I went deeper. Like, you keep asking more and more, moral or ethical, philosophical questions, and the answers aren't loving enough
for you.
For me, yeah, I wanted to love more than Catholicism allowed.
Okay, so a couple questions. So, do you think the same outcome? You think you'd be here right now without the internet and all the resources to easily dive into that realm of things? Because you're 20. When did you start thinking like this? Because
I probably 19, 20.
See?
Yeah.
You little weirdo. I wasn't thinking about that stuff. Do you think so? What do you think about that question?
Of
do you think so? Let's say you grew up 30 years ago and you're by the time you're 28, it's 1970 something. Mm-hmm. Do you think you still have these thoughts, or do you think because of, and I'm not saying it swayed you, if anything, and for this situation, it helped you just get to your thoughts quicker because that's probably just who you were inside anyways. But without all those resources, do you think you still make those decisions?
I think we all exist as a product of our genes and our environment. And so if I had been living in the 70s, let's say, the cultural context would have been different. Maybe there are some people that, obviously atheists still existed in the 70s, but like the cultural pressure was much greater then, right? And so especially living in Oklahoma, the pressure to like remain in some sort of Christian religious affiliation would have been much greater then. And so I don't know, maybe I would have just pretended.
Yeah.
for safety, right?
Right. No, for sure. What do you like about religion? Like what are some of the good things?
Community and a framework that people can come together and have, like-minded people to be supportive with. And that is sort of one of the issues, right, with how secular culture is becoming nowadays, is that we don't have third spaces as a secular culture. And so for people who are involved in religion, they go to church on a specific day, sometimes even multiple days. And so you have this sort of built-in community that isn't just work and school. And people who don't participate in religion don't get those spaces. And so it actually becomes very hard for people to meet people, to establish longer term relationships, to have deeper conversations with even the people that are around them, because church provides a context where people do have this sort of broader outlook, and that's a space where people have those conversations. And that just happens less often in secular spaces. In the workplace, it seems less likely or even socially acceptable to bring up questions like that of like, oh, hey, my dad cheated on my mom. What do I like? I feel weird about this. Do you really want to like bring that up at work or school?
At Possibilities, I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
For real.
And that's something that, you know, we, especially at Possibilities, we do try and like be that space for people.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be vulnerable for a second. And I mean this with all my heart. And it's not so much with, it's there with you. It's there with Peaches. Those are the two people I know best, especially Peaches. And I know Lee and Kat. I don't know them as well, so I'm just going to leave them out but in Byron's the top of this.
Yes,
this example. But if there's something heavy on my heart and I run into one of y'all, especially Byron's the extreme. I called him the other day. He was out of town. I think it might've been about the podcast, but I had stuff on my heart, and I called him, and as the phone's ringing, my eyes start watering. And I'm just like, and it's happened before with him. And I'm just like, what is it about? And then I've realized, like, even around, I mean, this is the longest you and I've ever talked.
Sure.
And especially anything remotely serious. Sure. And it's just there. And same with like Pete. So, and then you take I grew up in the Church of Christ. So like I church 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And as I get older, the line I'm drawing is if I didn't, like, you all have Christian values that are just make up a good person. You know, you treat others so kindly and you give people, you know, everything that, whatever. So the older I get, like, I don't go to the Church of Christ anymore, not because I'm against it or anything. I don't. I still believe in God, but it's the community aspect that I take, that I don't put above my belief in God, but it is what I don't get stuck on, Church of Christ. There was back in the day, Church of Christ, they did think you were the only ones going to heaven. And that's kind of where that joke started from. Sure. I'd always be like, oh, what are you, Baptist? See ya, right. They didn't clap in church. They didn't, at one point back in the day, they wouldn't pledge to the flag, I heard. And then to this day, even if it's like a funeral service, which they'll provide for free, the space, but the rule is females aren't allowed behind the pulpit. Mm-hmm. And that stuff's just wild to me. Mm-hmm. And, but anyways, I've also not, because back in the day, with the church I grew up in, if someone told me they didn't believe in God, just,
sure.
Oh my gosh, this person is, Marilyn Manson and all, they're just the worst. And the older I got, it's like, no, not at all. Mm. I mean, again, if you and I never talked about religion, I would think you're a first ballot Hall of Famer to go to heaven because you're just a kind person. And it doesn't take long to make me know that that's just the life you live. Mm. So as funny as I like to be about it, I do, the older I get, the more that does become just a separate thing for me. But when it just comes to possibilities, I don't know, man. You all, back to your thing about talking about things in the workplace, mm-hmm. Somehow you all found a way to do it. I don't know if it's because if it's a small crew, that's probably a lot of it, but I love that.
I think a lot of it has to do with intention, and that because Possibilities has this like stated thing of like, these are our values, We want to connect people. We want to treat people with dignity and respect.
You say pee-pee on people?
Yes. That's, if that's what you prefer, the golden rule, the golden shower rule.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a stated value, like trust, dignity, and respect. And so like that is a big thing about what we try and do. And that's an intentional thing that we like approach everything with. And I have my own values that I approach everything with. You could listen to the previous episode with Byron and myself to hear those. But
I think I want to listen to your podcast.
Well, cool. Yeah.
You, again, we just only had a few, but this is the most fun I've ever had talking to you. You are super engaging and I can tell your IQ is off the charts, which, if you didn't have an Audi, I would be a little, I'd be a little scared to talk to you. But, now that I know that, who cares if you know big words, right? But do you know your IQ?
I don't. I'm not interested in the question.
Do you know your ACT score?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think it was like 27. I don't know.
Or did you double up me? Nope. My first time was a 14. Second time was a 16. I found a loophole and didn't take algebra 2. I took some, I forget what, there was a loophole and I didn't take it. So they handed me a calculator, the giant calculator, and I didn't know even how to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
To any of these equations. Like I just started like marking. It was nuts. I got to take the ACT in the special room because I had or still have ADHD. Mm-hmm. And so, it's just like a room full of people just, throwing crap, messing around, playing checkers, football coach just on his computer. And I'm just sitting there taking the ACT and I took it over like 3 periods. Anyways, what do you mean you're not interested in the question? You're telling me I don't have interesting questions?
No, I'm not interested in the question of IQ or even like ACT scores. They measure very specific things and are missing a lot of context.
Because of those things, I can't get over like I think I am so dumb in school. I always have, and it's been a thing for me. Like I'm not that's the one thing that bothers me when I get in a group, like a big group of folks, and there's just these brilliant minds around me, and I always have to get over that for a little bit, and then just be myself. And where's your value and where you bring things to? Because, and I don't know, I think back on it about my vision loss, and like I just go back and like reading textbooks or. I wouldn't read my textbooks really because it would just take so long. Mm-hmm. And taking notes or something, someone would take notes for me, but it was on that stupid carbon copy where first off, the student would have to ask another student and be like, hey, can you take these notes? And then that student would keep the good top copy and I would get this yellow sheet of like faded. Of course, I can't read that either. And, I wonder if, I don't know. I wonder if that has, things to do with it as well. Because my dad, I don't have a family of dummies, that's for sure.
Well, I think school has a specific like purpose, right? And if you don't like meet these rules, then like you're not considered valuable by it. And it, it can be really hurtful to go through a system that tells you all your life, or at least all your life up to that point, that like, oh, you're not valuable because there's a letter that we've assigned to your value. And that, yeah, it's really harmful. Whereas like, you can be in a room full of like, quote unquote, smart people, but like smart according to what? And so you could be in a room full of like, okay, the stated purpose of this room is to write funny things. You became the smartest person in that room. And so like, depending on the context, like we have different intelligences based on different things. And so it's like, just because you can't like figure out how to use a calculator for these math questions doesn't mean that you don't have intelligence. It just means that your aptitude is elsewhere.
I can make the calculator say boobs.
Exactly.
800.
Yeah, and you have
Life.
an aptitude towards humor, and that's great. And people love that, and people value that.
I'm gonna put that on my resume.
Exactly. But it doesn't mean that like, oh, because you have a lower number that we've decided is your value, you like aren't welcome here. Everyone is welcome everywhere.
So we could talk. We have the full hour, so we might make this into 2 episodes because I'm having fun.